marriages, you have one partner who's eager to work on the marriage or eager to do more to support each other. And then you have another partner that's more reluctant and kind of hanging back. And there's also an overlay here onto what researchers call the problem of having an over contributor and an under contributor. And this also overlays often on gender, where the under contributor is the man, the over contributor is the woman. So, the interesting question there is, if you are the over contributing partner and you have one of these reluctant partners, what can you do? And what we found from our research and just our own experiences is that there are a few things to think about here. One is your mindset in marriage is contagious. So if you're approaching that situation from the perspective of fairness, and it's clearly not fair, then you have this sort of contagious mindset that your partner is likely to react to, and they're likely to recoil and withdraw and do less. And you're likely to both get more resentful and angry at each other. So shifting to radical generosity can have this kind of contagious effect where even though you were doing more before, if you're doing more from a place of generosity, often that can invite the other person who's doing less to sort of step up, because now the energy of resentment isn't laced into everything you're doing. But the other piece that I think is maybe even more critical is there's this idea, it comes from Gay Hendricks, who's a great author on self-improvement, where he says, in all times and in every way, we are getting exactly what we are committed to getting in life. And that is a radical idea. But if you apply it to marriage, the basic idea is that there are often ways in which the over-contributing partner is somehow playing into this dynamic, somehow committed to this dynamic. So like in the case of Kaylee and I, she was the over-contributor. She loved having control over all of these different aspects of our life, over our finances, over the logistics, the social calendar. So on the one hand, she was mad that I wasn't doing more, but on the other hand, she didn't want to relinquish control. So that's an example of how sometimes you can be participating in a dynamic that you say you don't want. And so really starting to unravel that is key. We actually have an exercise in the book called Unconscious Commitments, where the whole practice is about starting to see how are you participating in the dynamic. Because, almost inevitably in every single conflict in marriage or dynamic in marriage, both partners are somehow playing a role. And so identifying your role and getting curious about that is a big deal.
Mm-hmm. I actually wrote down that quote that you mentioned from Gay Hendricks. Yeah.
Gay Hendricks. Yeah.
I loved that. I starred that and circled that a few times. That was
and you can think about that in your individual life as well. I like to think when I'm having a problem, if I'm really stuck or, I'm having some experience physically, like I'm getting headaches a lot, like how am I creating this situation? What am I doing unconsciously? If I were to design like an unconscious commitments, protocol for somebody to have headaches, what would I tell them to do? Be on your screen all the time. Right? Like you can kind of self-diagnose and then start to see how you're creating a lot of the things that are happening in your life.
Mm-hmm.